Did you know that you have to pay for three mortgages on every single home? Now, most people are seeing the interest rates changing in the United States and America. They get a lot of news. We get a lot in Canada, England, Australia, all over. The whole world is raising interest rates. But what most people don't understand is how we actually get to your specific rate. Everybody is different. And what you don't realize is you are paying for three mortgages at the same time on your property. So we got to analyze this so that we know how we can defend ourselves and possibly even make our rate a little bit better. All right, so let's jump into some of that information for today because I think it is super, super, super important. If we're going to take a look at America, America has gone absolutely crazy. They've gone up and up and up and up their rates 10 times, and now they're sitting at 5.25%. That is huge. But then I have to ask you, do you pay 5.25% for your mortgage? No, you do not. You have to pay much higher than that. So you have to ask yourself, why is that? If we continue on to Canada, we have a little bit of egg on our face because we upped the rate 8 times in a row. We decided to pause 2 times. And now we've had to go back on what we are doing and start raising it again. Normally, Canada follows the United States, like over 90% of the time. Currently, we're at 4.75, and the United States is at 5.25. We're probably going to have to end up a lot closer to where they are. So, this is the first part. The first part of the rate that you pay on your home, the first part is the rate that is coming directly from the central bank. First part, you and I know we never can negotiate that part. That part's coming from the federal level and it's not going to change. Okay, so if we continue on past that, we have to understand a little bit about something called a risk-free rate. So whenever we're going to actually send something, okay, we're going to buy something, it doesn't matter where we're talking about. I don't care if it's you investing in a stock or whatever. The risk-free rate is the rate that you can get from the bond market. And so that risk-free rate, which let's just currently look, 5-year Treasury note is at 3.9% right now. So 3.9% is what the Treasury sets it at. And so that is the risk-free rate that we can lend our money to the government, zero risk of it ever disappearing because the government can print as much money as it wants. That's what a risk-free rate is. So if we take a look at this little chart there, and you see it, that diagonal line that is moving up, across the flat bottom there, it's showing you the risk in the market. But as that risk is going up towards the right-hand side, then interest rates have to go up in response to it. And that is why you have this diagonal line. So as risk goes up, interest rates have to go up. So as you go up the risk tail, this percentage has got to go up every single time. And they want to have a return over the risk-free rate. So what does that actually mean? So let's just take that out. We just looked at what one example in America, it was giving us 3.9%. So why on earth would you lend money to a friend, let's say, for 3.9%? When he could default, he could run away on you, or who knows, whatever else, right? Take your money and leave, burn it, who knows? There's a risk there that he may not pay you back. There's zero risk that a government is going to just disappear overnight. That's not going to happen, not in a place like United States or Canada. So that's why they call it a risk-free rate. So we have to balance the risk. We're really good as humans at looking at numbers, but we're terrible at evaluating what risk is. So remember, you need to make more than the risk-free rate straight from the government. Okay, so now that we have our first part done, to review, this is the part that you see on the TV all the time that they're talking about, 5.25, and United States is at 4, Canada is at 4.75. Okay, that is the first portion. So the next portion of it is we need to make a profit on top of the risk-free rate. This is what is called the bond yields or the Treasury yields. So let's just go back and take a look at the Canada and the United States over the past year. This now is going to dictate exactly how much profit or commission that the actual bank wants on your mortgage. So when you're going to get a mortgage, you want to know how much are they going to ask me for? Well, if you look at the bond rate, 5-year in any country that you're in, Australia, England, or whatever, whenever this is, when the rates get high, that means that they want high commission. Look at over here. They want high commission over here in October, November, also in March. So let's go back to Canada. Let's take out Canada and look at a 1 year for Canada. Canada is currently sitting at 3.7, very close to United States. Notice on a 1 year chart right here in March, very, very high. That means high mortgage rates. Way back here in November, high mortgage rates. And then the mortgage rates were coming down along with the bond market. Everything that you are seeing today with the huge rise in prices is coming from specifically this. Do you see this big gap, this big hole in this circle? And this is for Canada between the end of March and May 11th or something like that. Well, do you remember anything that happened in March? Something that was absolutely gigantic? Maybe Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, First Republic Bank, that were all collapsing all around us. And so just think of this for a second. People in Canada, where I am, were like, oh, whatever happens in California, not my problem. But it is your problem, because Canada lost 20 billion, $20 billion we lost when those banks went down. So now all the banks in Canada, the States, everybody is scared, and they're like, damn, we got to keep this thing going. We're willing to take less commission on our mortgages that we clear. We're willing to take less. Why do you think home prices went up? When they lowered those commissions by 1%, all of a sudden everyone says the end is here. Home prices are going to go up forever. When they thought that that was a signal that things were great, what they didn't realize is that it's a signal that things were bad. So if we're going to look at the bond market and try to take a look at what is happening, look at what's happening now. So those good times are over. Look at it right now. It has shot up with huge speed in Canada. Let's take a look at what's happening in the United States. Let's go back for the 1 year chart on the States, just so that we can have context. Do you not see that the rates have gone way up in the United States as well? That's a big difference. So when that happens, we're going to crush home prices. Look at it where it was at the low over here, 2.7. Look where it is right now, 3.7. That means home prices got to get squashed by 10%. This is a forward-looking measure. So I want you to think about this when you are driving your car. Do you look out the front window or do you look out the back window? And you're going to answer to me, well, we like to do both. And your answer is right. But 95% of the time you're looking forward, you're not looking what's happening behind you. Yeah, it's good to glance every now and then. Is some Yahoo right on my tail? But the majority of the time we got to be looking to where we're going. So when people are showing you the average price of homes last month, the month before, they're now looking in the rear view mirror. You guys know that you could reach me at sellhigher.ca if you want to be selling properties for more money here in Toronto. That's what we specialize in. But you have to be looking forward in the market. We got to be looking out the front window. And that's what the bond market is telling you. So if we take a look at that bond market again, you tell me, what do you see? You see rates going up. You see rates going up. It's the exact same thing. We got this October, November highs. We have a March high, right? All right, let's play this out and keep playing with that. Then we got to get into, look at these mortgage rates. Do you notice a high in November for the average 30-year mortgage in the United States? Oh my goodness, it was high in November. It was also high at the beginning of March. And wait, we're high again. Oh, wait a second. David, it can't be that easy. Wait a second. Was it high in March on the bond yield? High in March over here, high in November and October, high again now? Oh my goodness, David, is this pure coincidence? Nope. It's not coincidence. This is how they measure it. So you guys, if we take a look at Canada right now, we're sitting at all these no-name banks. We're all hitting 5%. But if you get into the big banks, 5.3, 5.4, in the sixes, 6.49. But David, you told me that the government rate was only 4.75. Well, yes, that is the first mortgage that you have. That is the first one that you have to pay, 4.75. That is dictated by the central bank. Cool? That's the first mortgage. Second mortgage, dictated by the bond yields. These bond yields are public voting mechanisms. The public is voting what this portion, the public is voting how much commission the individual banks will be getting. This is a Canadian and a US version. So this is now where we get to the advertised rate. So this is the rate that is being advertised in the United States. Currently, today, it's advertised at 6.69. If we want to look at Canada, we're seeing these 5s and 6 percentages. So you guys, this is the second mortgage that every single person is carrying on their property. First one by the central bank. Second one is being dictated by the bond market. And then comes the third one, the one that you have control over. And that is the risk premium that you have on yourself. So when we're going to be looking at that risk premium, this is what I got to ask you. When you go look at your mortgage portfolio or whatever homes that you have, are you paying 5% on your mortgage today if you're on a variable rate that's not fixed? Are you paying 6%, 5%? Because I can tell you the majority of the people that I know are not. In the United States, currently, the advertised rate is 6.69 right now. It was as high as 7% it was last November. But are we seeing that today? And the answer is no, we are not seeing that today. And it's because the banks are viewing us, every one of us, as risky. So let's back it up now and take a look at how these rates are going to affect you. Number one loan here is at a $1 million. 1 million, okay? We take that $1 million loan and we get a 2% financing on like we did last year for 25 years, and the payment is $4,200. When we go crazy like we are right now, and a lot of my clients are paying a lot higher, the one that we talked to today was at 9.5%. $1 million mortgage, same mortgage as the year before, is out now at 9.5 instead of 2. And let's make it a 25-year mortgage. The payment now, instead of $4,200, is all the way to $8,700. Where on earth are you going to come up with $4,500 extra dollars every single month? Every month, not one time, $4,500 extra on top of it. And at the end of the day, this is going to continue. So if we take this, though, and say, well, obviously people don't have that extra $4,500 a month. If that is the case, then right here, the price has to adjust. But notice right down below, $4,200 payment last year. In order to keep the payment right around the same with these new interest rate premiums that the people are paying, home prices would have to drop in half. Notice a $1 million mortgage at 2% is the exact same payment as a $500,000 mortgage at 9.5%. At the end of the day, homes are made for people and only for the people that can afford to pay their mortgages or rent. And that is a sad reality, but this is what is happening to the rates. So this was the second mortgage that you're going to have to pay. Now let's get to the third mortgage that you're going to have to pay. When we see these 30-year fixed mortgages at 7% in the United States, we have to look back and go, well, in the United States, their central bank rate is 5.25. So when we're looking at the United States offering 7.08, what did we learn that is? That is the risk premium that the bank is adding on based on what the bond market is telling them. That is their commission between the 5.25 and 7.08. Canada is the exact same. England's the same. Australia is the same. They're all the same. They have to make their commission on top of it. So we're now getting into the last portion of this. And banks are in a lot of doo-doo right now. They're in trouble and they don't know how to deal with it. And the governments, the big head honchos that are looking over them, are telling them big trouble is coming. But how are they telling people that big trouble is coming? We kind of have to be able to read the tea leaves a little bit, but I don't think it's too much of a stretch. Try and look at what I'm telling you. U.S. bank profits are tumbling on higher bad loan reserves. If we head down, the second quarter profits at big banks in the U.S. are expected to fall. There's a 25% drop in profit on Thursday. Citigroup, Wells Fargo, 38% down, 42% profit declines. Why on earth is this happening? This is all the plunge in profit stems from lenders adding to their reserves for expected loan losses. Please understand what that means, that people are going to lose their job and cannot afford their mortgage payments. This is not really rocket science. When we know that there is a lot of trouble that is coming in the market, we are going to adjust accordingly. The banks must do it or they'll go under. No bank like JP Morgan that's been around for 100 years is going to act ruthlessly and lose trillions of dollars just because they weren't prepared. Same as me and you, we have a duty to look after our families, and we're going to always make sure that we have money in reserve in case something bad happens. So this is the exact same way. They're putting money aside and they're getting legislated to do so. In Canada, they upped the domestic stability buffer. I did an entire video on this yesterday. You can go check out our YouTube on this one. They now, for every $1 million loan, they have to have 35 or 3.5%. $35,000 put in account in case people are not going to pay their mortgages. This is way higher than it was last year. For last year, they only needed 1% or $10,000 per $1 million loan. Now they have to have $35,000 per $1 million loan. And they're doing this because they are very, very scared of what's coming. Also, they redefined risk according to the government where I am in Canada. And they are saying that they are willing to accept the orderly failure of a regulated institution. They are now willing to accept an orderly failure of a regulated institution. This is coming, whether we like it or not, you guys. And so then the question lastly comes down to, well, when? And that also has been tried and tested through time a lot. Let me show you where. If you just go to Investopedia and type in Investopedia response lag, when you were talking about response lag, about how it works, it just says when they raise interest rates, it takes time for it to actually come into effect. So it says when the Federal Reserve, or this could be the Bank of Canada or the Bank of Australia, when they cut or raise rates, it can take 18 months before there's any evidence of the changes. Now, notice, though, this inability to fine-tune the economy, which is what they're trying to do by raising and lowering rates, this inability to fine-tune the economy with the aim of evening out business cycles is perhaps why many tightening cycles in the Fed's history have been followed by a recession or a depression. Please understand that when you raise these rates as rapidly as they do, there is huge contagion that is going to happen because of this, but it doesn't happen instantly. There is always a response lag. So we tried to break down this easily for you. There are 3 sections, 3 mortgages that everybody has to pay on their property. So I prepared a little something for you just so that it might be a little bit easier for us to understand. You need to pay for 3 mortgages on your house, per house, every single person. Everybody, okay? 3 mortgages. So the very first one, this is the one that you see on TV. This is the central banks. Okay, this could be the Bank of Canada. It could be the U.S. Federal Reserve. It could be the Reserve Bank of Australia or of England, whatever. Bank of Canada currently is sitting at 4.75 and 5.25. My question to you is, do you know anybody that has not a fixed rate? Don't joke with me. But do you know anybody who's paying 4.75 or 5.25% on their mortgage? I could tell you, you're probably going to say no, obviously. So that is the first portion of your mortgage that you got to pay. Okay. That's the first one. The second one is what? Do you remember? Bond market. So nobody pays this 4.75 or 5.25. You do not pay that much. Now, the next one is the bond rate dictated premium. That bond rate dictated premium is completely different. Bond rate, that's the one I showed you, the 5-year treasury or the 5-year bond. Now, this is any country. This is the commission that they want to make. How much dollars do they want to make for actually putting forth your actual mortgage? They got to make money. So this is the tip that I have for you. Look at the bond rates long term, generally about 5 years. So in Canada, I'm going to write below, in Canada, you can look at the 5-year bond. If you're in the US, you can look at the 5-year treasury. If you're in the UK, you can look at the 5-year gilt market. Okay, it's all very, very similar. So try to take a look at that, and that's going to give you a really good idea of where we're heading. What is the third mortgage that you're paying? I put in huge letters, you, me, all of us. We are the ones that are going to be paying for this third section. And this is the one that you have a lot of control over. So if we're taking a look at this, what are they looking at? They're looking at the loan to value on the home, meaning how much money are you putting down on this one particular property? Are you putting down 10%, 5%? Like, what are you putting down? They got to know. TDSR is your total debt servicing ratio. They want to know what your total debt is and what your total incomes are. And they got to know what that ratio is. They're going to be able to have that. They have it right at the bank. They can print it out for you. They're going to be looking at your total income, your total assets, your total credit score. And these are things that you can work on right away. What if you put away a little bit more money to improve your loan to value? What if you paid off some high interest credit cards? Even better yet, closing those credit cards down. I think the best answer yet is just lowering the value of those credit cards right down to $100 and let them die a natural death. Now, your income, you could try to increase your income. Your assets, try to be buying assets if you can. Credit score, work on your credit score. Get somebody. There are services that you can hire to repair your credit score. Make sure your credit score is going to be good. Soon to come, we're going to be getting a social credit score, just like they have in China, where we're going to be getting some credit scores based on, do we pay our taxes on time and what type of people we are, or whatever the government is, whatever flavor it is. This is what is coming our way soon. But fortunately, we don't have to think of that. So a lot of the confusion right now is coming down to what is being defined as the banks with AAA. What is a AAA client? A AAA client is that client who's going to get the absolute best rate that you possibly can. Remember, we have 3 portions. Number 1 is coming from the central bank. The second mortgage is coming from what the bond market is going to dictate, their profit, their commission that they're going to make. And the third one is you. So that third one, that is you, that's the one that they're going to be calling AAA, and you're hoping to get the posted rate. Remember, in Canada, when we were looking in Canada, they were advertising around 5, even though that the central bank's giving 4.75. So they're only going to make 0.25% profit if you're lucky. But who do you know that's getting the posted rate? And that really, really, really comes down to the key, the crux of everything. So last year, we have clients that we deal with all the time. Let's take a look at this. In 2022, to become a AAA client, you needed a 700 credit score. If your mortgage payment was $2,000 a month, you needed to make 40 times that. So you would have to make about $80,000, and you had to have a low debt level. And that was considered AAA last year. Let's say the beginning of last year. Okay. Now, if you move forward to 2023, all of a sudden, their credit score that they want you to have is now 800 for the exact same definition. Well, it was 700 last year. Now they want 800. Perfection. Last year, they wanted 40x your mortgage payment in yearly salary. Now they want 100x your yearly salary, your mortgage payment, 100x of your mortgage payment in yearly salary. And now they want no debt. So the biggest problem that we're running into today is people who have a AAA rating are no longer AAA, and then they're getting this risk premium added on top of them. So let's just take this exact same example. Last year, advertised rate, I'm going to write the advertised rate was 2%. And if you were this category above, you would now get 2%. Beautiful. No risk premium on me whatsoever. It is the exact same. Now let's fast forward to 2023. I'm the same guy. I'm still making my same income, same credit as I did last year. Now they're going to say, well, the posted advertised rate in Canada is 5%. The posted rate in the United States is 7%. This is the advertised rate. But now all of a sudden they're going to say, you're too risky. You're not 800 credit score. You're not 100 times the mortgage payment. You have some debt. You're not at no debt. So then they add their risk premiums to it, and they're adding 10% overall rate in the US. And in Canada, 8%. Very, very, very common. And so when you are paying this 8% in Canada, you look at that 8% and you're shocked at that rate, and you're very, very upset at it. And guess what? You should be. Of that 8%, you're sitting back and going, well, so let's take Canada, for example, 4.75% of that 8 is for the central bank, Bank of Canada. On top of that, they want to give you some kind of a premium, maybe 1% for the bank. So they're going to be advertising 5.75. Now that's a BMO rate, and these are based on the bonds. That's your second one. Now you're up to 5.75. Then if we said the total was 8 above here, we now have 2.25% added onto you because of your personal risk. And your personal risk is how much debt that you have, and what is your total debt servicing ratio, and what is your credit score, et cetera. Everybody I say is a snowflake. I don't say that derogatorily. I'm saying that everyone is so unique. We have to look at their situation. So when you see your rate offered to at 8%, it actually consists of 3 small mortgages, 1, 2, 3, only of which one can you affect. So you better be sure that you are working all you can to lower down this risk premium, because the difference of it is tens of thousands, in some cases, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I hope that helps you guys. This is a really, really complicated subject overall. So I hope that it helps you. At the end of the day, please understand the implications of this. When those rates go high, home prices have to come down, period. It never changes. If we take a look at all of time, so some people get mad and they say, well, in the United States or Canada, it doesn't really matter. In 1988, interest rates were 19%, but at the time, a home may have been only $50,000. And the argument is, well, back now in 2023, now our interest rates are 5% and a home is 500,000. So this is what I can tell you. Through all of time, it doesn't really matter what century that we are living in. All it always comes down to, please remember this, 30%. That number is the same all through time. It never, ever, ever changes. So your house price times the interest rate has to equal your salary. And when I'm saying your salary, it has to be 30%. So if you make $100,000 per year, you can spend $33,000 on shelter. So it doesn't matter what decade that you are in. In 1988, when interest rates were 19% and 50,000, the bank is still going to say you can only spend 1/3 on shelter. In 2023, when interest rates are 5%, they're going to tell you doesn't matter. You can only spend 1/3 of your income on shelter. It doesn't matter what year. Math always has to make sense. House times interest rate has to equal 30% of your salary, period. Never changing, never changing, never changing. This is going to be this way forever. So it gives us a really, really good idea of where we are right now. Now, today, there are a lot of private lenders. So when people are seeing this 8% come up, they're upset. I'm seeing a lot of people getting 10% in Canada, in the United States, getting 10%. And that is because of their personal risk premium. This last one that I have on the line. This is happening more and more, to which people are trying to turn around and say, well, I'm going to go with who? A private lender. And if you go to a private lender, they know all of these numbers all too well. This is nothing new to them. So if we're going to take a look right now, we might see 5% being offered in Canada, for example, on a 5-year variable, something like that, 5%. But then you're going to have your risk premium on top of it. So when they add their risk, they're going to see 8%. Remember, if you go to a third party, that third party has to make even more profit. Right now, third-party lenders are asking for, on average, 12.9%, and a 2% loan fee. So that 2% loan fee is only on the first year. But that first year is to do their due diligence on you and put liens on your property, et cetera, usually first place liens. And so this is going to happen. So as you're starting to look and you thought the 8% looked bad, imagine paying 14.9% in your first year. And at the end of the day, I keep telling people that math always has to make sense. In Canada, for some ridiculous reason, we seem to worship at the idol of home ownership. We think that it's the end all be all for all people. And one thing I want to tell you is that if you go back to the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it doesn't really matter. Canada, United States, Europe, 35% of the population is always renting. You may have people that can afford it, but you always have students, people that are moving between cities, you have Airbnbs, whatever else. Normally only 65% of people actually own homes. So we need rentals out there. Renting is not necessarily a bad thing if it actually suits where you are at the present time. But remember, I always say that math always has got to make sense. So when I want you to do, when you have some free time, please consult back. What I had done is I just went to a regular loan calculator, nothing special. When I went to that loan calculator, I just started playing around with it. My total amount of loan at $1 million, I kept it the exact same for the first two to compare to see what the difference in payments are. I want you to notice here, $1 million property at 2%, they would charge $271,000 of interest. On $1 million at 9.5%, you now have to pay $1.6 million in interest. But I have some clients of mine, the worst one, let me show you. He has $1 million mortgage that is at 3%. Let's change that 3%, but he has a negative amortization loan at 101 years. Please notice on his same property for $1 million, he is now paying $2 million in interest. $2 million in interest. So it went from paying $271,000 of interest last year. This year, we're up to $1.6 million of interest on that loan. And if he continues on, which is impossible, no one lives as long as that, but his loan term says that they want $2,060,000 in loan interest. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I can't even believe it. So this is my warning to you guys. Do your homework and do everything you can to save this money. It is a very, very, very serious deal. I don't want you guys to get creamed. So, yeah, Freddie is mentioning here, thank you very much for coming on, that there are big broker fees, there are big lending fees, and they want to make a lot of information on both sides. Freddie's saying info is amazing. I hope it helps you out, guys. The reason that I do this is because we don't get paid to put stuff on YouTube. I think I got paid $20. I do this because I want to save people and I don't want them to run into the same problems. Remember, there is enormous financial gates in front of the information that you need to know to prosper. Those gates have been in front of me for 20 years. A lot of the information that I get, I've had to pay tens of thousands of dollars for to get that information to make my life better. But it was always gatekept by everybody because they don't want to let other people in, kind of thing. You have to pay $500, $600, $1,000 an hour to sit with experts in order to learn this. But if you want to play at the big game, at the big table, you want to play with the big boys, you got to be willing to pay that money because you're dreaming big. I will not bend down and I will not be susceptible to them and work till I'm 80 years old into the ground. That'll never happen. So I hope that you have the same determination in your heart. And hopefully if you do, you're at the right channel. You found a good friend. Anyway, you guys, I love you guys. I really hope that you have a very, very good night. I hope that this helps a lot. Please consider subscribing and jumping on the channel whenever I go live. I love when I get asked questions. Please like this video. Please leave a comment. It really, really helps out the algorithm. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night.